Hello, a very warm welcome back to the channel of nonsense and the car version of a veal sausage, because it's delicious, it's rare, it's a little bit evil, but once you've tried one, trust me, you'll want to have one on your plate forever. Is of course the Bentley Bentayga, quite a controversial car, but importantly, quite a good one. Watch the rest of this video to find out why you might be overlooking this in your hunt for a very expensive family SUV. Let's go. I think I did the Dacia Duster last week, but anyway, we're covering all bases here on Tim Roddy Drive Stuff. First, quick bit of housekeeping. Apologies if it's a bit wobbly or a bit noisy. It is windier than my bedroom last night, and trust me, I put baked beans in with the cheese in my Breville sandwich toaster. You might even blow over halfway through this. But anyway, look at this. Lovely understated Bentley Bentayga. This car is not cheap. It costs just under £200,000. This one has got £65,000 worth of options on it, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, I want to talk about value just briefly, because clearly this is terrible value for your money. At least that's what I thought. I didn't used to like Bentleys. I thought they were chintzy things for footballers and their wives. And then I drove a couple and suddenly it clicked. Suddenly it felt like you can actually feel where your money's going. And trust me, when we get inside, you can feel where your 260 grand has gone, sort of. It does feel like the point of diminishing returns for quality and price is after Bentley. So Rolls-Royce doesn't feel like a bargain after you've driven one of these. But anyway, let's talk about this rather lovely satin orange flame Bentley. Now we're going to dive into the options first just a little bit. This orange flame satin paintwork is part of a new range of matte paint schemes that Bentley added to the Bentayga back in 2023. It looks lovely, but then it should, because it costs just under £24,000. It's like you've spray painted it with a Dacia Duster, but it is rather nice. What isn't so nice is this placement of the front camera. Look, it's almost been zip tied onto the grille. Not quite, but that, once you spotted it, is pretty atrocious. But let me show you the rest of this car. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you would have spotted that this is an S model, so it's got some sportier chassis bits than the regular Bentayga. It's also got more black bits as standard along the front bumper there, around the lights. Now the headlights are obviously halogens. You have to upgrade to LED matrix. Well, no, they're always LED matrix. Nothing cheap about this. Look at that crystalline effect in there. It's, I don't want to say it's gorgeous, it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'd like a more subtly spec'd one, but this is very much the young person's Bentayga, isn't it? You get 22-inch black wheels with the self-leveling Bs on there, 400mm steel discs, although Bentley does do a carbon ceramic option on this as well. This one, being an S, you get an S badge down there. You would normally get black sills, but this one's got the Bentayga styling pack, which is £7,000, and it makes that carbon fibre. And the S also gets this massive wang of a rear spoiler, again in carbon fibre, as part of the Bentayga styling pack. And yeah, it's got the sports exhaust on this one as part of the S package. I think this facelift, which came out in 2020, really tidied up the whole tailgate, just looks really quite nice for such an ostentatious vehicle. I'm just staying under here to keep warm and keep out of the wind. Look, you've even got diamond stitch sound deadening on the bonnet. But anyway, the Bentayga uses actually quite an old hat engine for Bentley now. It's the 4-litre V8 from Volkswagen Group. It's got 550 horsepower, 770 newton meters of torque, obviously an 8-speed auto. You can also get it as a hybrid with 462 horsepower from a V6. That will only do about 25 miles on electric range, so it's a bit old school under here. Bentley's new Conti GT has got a new hybridized V8, that wasn't fully open, with 1,000 newton meters of torque. So actually, once that hybridized engine goes into the Bentayga, this will be even more ridiculous. And yes, the W12 doesn't exist anymore. We never actually got it in the Bentayga in the UK after the facelift, or Europe. I think it was just the rest of the world who didn't care about emissions and killing polar bears. I hope that's not broken. Size isn't everything, but when it comes to the Bentayga, it almost says everything. It is massive. It's 5.2 meters long, which is only that much shorter than the Audi Q7 that is technically sitting under here. Now, being an S model, it's got rear wheel steering. The Azure model gets that as well, and it's an option across the range as of 2023. And the last time I drove one of these in 2020, I was kind of wishing they would stick all-wheel steering on it, because it does shorten the turning circle by a meter, tighten it up, and over 37 miles an hour, the wheels turn the same direction for better stability when you're doing the 180 mile an hour top speed, which is very handy. It is heavy, 2.4 tons, but this S model's got some extra chassis trickery to make it feel more agile. So you've got active roll bars front and rear, you've got slightly stiffer air suspension as well. It's several Tim Roadies long and only slightly more orange. Right, time to look at the Bentayga's interior, and this is the worst bit of it. That is an Audi indicator stalk. That is very gauche Bentley, because if you get Continental GT, you get lovely bespoke ones with knurled ends, but for some reason you don't get them in a Bentayga. Also, the adaptive cruise control is part of a £5,800 package that gives you the head-up display and other bits and bobs. But otherwise, it's lovely in here. It is just divine. The sense of material quality is out of this world, unmatched by anyone other than Rolls-Royce. And a Rolls-Royce Cullinan is going to be 200 grand more than this after options, which is why I said this almost feels like good value. Lots of it is in the little touches, like how the stitching is on the inside of the steering wheel. Can you see that? That means it's not on the outside, so you don't feel it as much when you're driving. They all have a 10.9-inch infotainment system. That is a bit old school. It's got wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, but to actually turn off some of the systems that you need to turn off, like the speed limit warning bulb, there's a lot of menus to go through and it can be a bit confusing. But you've got a whole litany of aircon controls and things like that down there. You can put your heated and cooled seats on, and your massage functions are actually controlled by the side of the seats down there. Now this one's got the optional carbon fibre bit across the middle. This has actually got dark green and tan interior. I think it's Cumberland sausage green or something. It is very, very nice in here. And obviously my favourite bit of any car interior in the world ever are the little pushed organ stops to turn the air vents off and on. They move with an oily precision that is only matched by, I don't know, a big German piston in a train or something like that. Now, some of this stuff in the leather department isn't standard. So the precision diamond stitched, I think it's the door interiors, it's £4,300. It looks nice, but that is quite expensive. Comfort spec is in this car. That's another pack which adds massage and ventilated seats. And you can also get it with a postural adjustment system that uses an algorithm created by a chiropractor to improve your posture on long journeys. It's ridiculous. Now we have to talk about the sound system. This one's got the optional NAIM, I think it's NAIM audio system. It is £7 grand, but is the best sound system I've ever heard in any car ever, I think. Even better than the systems you get in Rolls Royces, I think. It's 20 speakers, it's got 1,780 watts. It's got bass speakers built into the seats as well, so you really feel the kick, and there's a subwoofer in the boot. There is now a mid-spec option, which I think is about £5 grand or something. It's Bang & Olufsen 16 speaker setup. So you've got choices. You have got choices, but there you go. It's probably enough waffle about the interior of the Bentayga up front. It is just one of the best interiors. It feels incredibly luxurious. Everything that looks like metal is metal. It feels solid, it feels sturdy. It feels like it's going to outlast my house. Now this is a regular wheelbase version of the Bentayga, and actually backseat space is palatial. That will go forward to my driving position when I turn the car on. So at 6'3", I've got acres of room, foot room, and headroom is very good as well. Now the rear doors are pretty massive, so if you have to park close to walls, that can be a bit of a problem. And they are very kind of heavy with all the speaker stuff in them, but look, it's still being blown around in the wind. Now, key features of the Bentayga's back seats. The seats slide and they recline. They go really far forward and back as well. But the real thing, which I've forgotten to turn on to show you, bear with me a second, the real thing that my kids have absolutely adored is this removable tiny tablet in the back. So I hand this to my kids on long journeys and it entertains them because they can close all of the window blinds. They can change the lighting colour in the car. And they had massive arguments choosing which of the 32 colours they want to pick on a long journey. So if you want a new way to entertain or drive your children apart from one another, this is great. It also shows you how fast you're going and all this kind of stuff as well, so they can dob you into the rozzers. But yeah, otherwise back here, loads of space, very comfortable, and with that comfort pack, I've got those foldy wings on the headrests in the back as well, so you can properly fall asleep back here. You've got big door bins as well, which are kind of leather lined. It's just very, very posh. If your kids aren't impressed by this, then throw them in the sea. And yeah, don't get too worried about using this as a family car, because these lovely, lovely wool mats, they do get muddy, but you can hoover them out pretty easily. And the nylon carpet around the side is now 100% recycled. Well done, Bentley. Big car then, but the boot isn't actually that big. It's 484 litres, which is smaller than in some reasonably sized Skodas. That's because you've got a flat load lip here. It's a big long space, but it's just not very deep, so it's not quite as big as you'd think. If you get the extra helping of wheelbase model, I think that's what EWB stands for, you get even less boot space, and if you get the 4-seater option, you get less boot space again. So it's not actually the biggest thing. You've got buttons here to lower the car down. You can get a tow bar fitted, and then it can tow up to 3.5 tons, so you can take your jet skis to the water and have some summer fun. Obviously, you get an electric boot on every model. There are no silly options like that. They're not charging you for Apple CarPlay or anything either. But yes, not quite as big in the bum as you would think. I'm not sure I've mentioned, but this interior is just so comfortable. These little wing things as part of I think it's the comfort pack, really just add an extra air of airline luxury. Obviously, you've got double glazed windows and all the rest of it, but you've still got a big fat V8. Which when you start it up, especially in sport mode with this car with the sport exhaust, it burbles, it's got a bit of woofle to it. It sounds very cool and very sporty. Right, I'm just going to turn the speed limit warning off. Yes, there's a little bit of a faff. Car, hang on, no. Car. There's a quicker way to do this. Someone's going to tell me in the comments. An angry Bentley, you know. But anyway, this car is not the easiest thing in the world to drive. I normally hop in and say, oh, it's very easy to see out of and everything. And it sort of is, apart from the back corners. It's just so epically wide and big that you're forever paranoid about catching a wheel. It's 2.2 meters wide across the door mirrors. So it is an absolute unit. But once you've got over the size of it, and you do get used to it, it's very, very comfortable. The accelerator travel usually is quite gentle, so it's easy to pull away like you're a chauffeur. But sometimes the gearbox isn't very switched on, so away from junctions and things, it can be a bit suddenly lurchy, deploying lots of torque and horsepower at once. And likewise, the brake pedal has been a bit surprising. Normally in Bentleys, you can chauffeur them to a nice gentle stop. But in this sometimes gets a little bit jerky. It's a very windy day. No one can actually hear me. But yeah, that big V8, if you're driving it in an uncouth, un-Bentley-like manner, it's flipping fast. It is an absolute rocket ship. And you will surprise a few people with the pace of this thing. It is just ridiculous. But the upside of all of that is you can drive it gently and just surf along on the torque, and it doesn't kick down all the time. So you can actually just make decent, unhurried progress. But look, 2.4 tons going ballistically fast with 550 horsepower. That never gets boring. That does never get boring. But the real star of the show for me always has been the Bentayga's ability to hide its mass in the corners. And this S model is better than ever. You've got the 4-wheel steer helping you out in slower corners and making it more stable in others. But you get a little bit of a kick from the back axle as well. They've retuned the stability control in the S to be a bit slacker. It just feels quite rear biased more of the time than I'm used to in the Bentayga. Right, I will, it's fine, there's a van coming out of the way. This is the width problem. But I have to say, even when you do stick it in sport mode, the ride quality isn't sacrificed. You can go down a bumpy, crappy B road like this, and you're not being jiggled. You're not being molested by the suspension. It's just very, very good. Then obviously you can put it in Bentley, which is sort of a middle ground mode, or there's comfort mode, which does what it says on the tin and really softens the suspension off. And those active anti-roll bars mean they can decouple when they're not needed, so it glides over bumps. And Vauxhall Corsa drivers who are 12 years old can just drive at you and terrify you. And that is the thing. It is a big, expensive car. You have to just get over that and just realise it's a car that you can use. It's a family car. I've not been afraid of sticking my kids in it. Yes, they've made it muddy. Yes, they've kicked the backs of the front seats. But it is a car and you can wipe the leather down. This is a car that's designed to be used, designed to be part of your family. And if I owned one of these, I can't think of another family SUV that would do as many jobs as this thing does. And yes, it's ridiculously expensive. It's only for a very lucky few, but they've got it pretty good on the other side of the "we've got loads of money" fence. What a thing. So yes, niggles, slightly inconsistent brake pedal, can be a bit grabby at low speeds. The gearbox can be a bit dim-witted out of junctions, but on the upsides, it handles really, really well. It's actually entertaining to drive quickly down a twisty country road. You can get the back out a little bit, and it just feels alive, and it's just very reassuring. But also, on an autumn evening, like I've had lots of with this car, in the dark, in the rain, in the howling gales, this feels like you're in your castle. This makes you feel so good about yourself. You've got your heated seats, you've got your massage seats. You can barely hear the world outside. The sound system is phenomenal. Life cannot get much better. When the world outside is horrible, you're in here, you're snug, you're comfortable, you feel secure. And for me, that's a much better feeling than rattling my teeth out in some Ferrari. So anyway, Bentley Bentayga to drive almost does it all. I wish I didn't like it as much as I do, but don't overlook this car. Oh, sorry, fuel economy. Nearly forgot, fuel economy. I've been getting 18.6 miles per gallon, and I've seen 12. It's got an 85 litre fuel tank, so if you fill it up at the moment, it's about 120, 130 quid. That will get you slightly less than 400 miles. You probably knew about that though, and you probably didn't care. Now, I've come to National Trust car park purely to point out that you can get some off-road drive modes. They're part of the £4,000 all-terrain package, which adds some underbody protection, and your drive modes for different terrains, a bit like in a Range Rover. But I don't know, are you going to go green laning in one of these? You could, and I think it would do quite well off-road if you're a farmer who's not been knobbed by the inheritance tax thing. But yeah, cool car, sounds good, goes well. Back to me for an outro, don't know what that was. I feel like game show host from the 70s or something. And relax. Right, how do I really summarise the 260 grand bright orange Posemobile without sounding like a massive sycophant? Of course it is brilliant. Personally, I would spec mine a bit more subtly, maybe in a nice blue, the Azure spec with all the chrome, and pretend I'm a golfer who lives in Florida and I'm one golf stroke away from having an actual stroke. This is a bit youth even for me, but what an epic car. For your money, you're getting one of the nicest interiors of any car on sale. You're getting a car that's incredibly comfortable to drive, yet at the flick of a switch can go down a B road at a great rate of knots, making a colossal noise and having a good time with your family on board. And really the nits I've got to pick with this car are around things like its depreciation, which is pretty savage. These tend to lose quite a lot of money in their first year. So you could pick one of these, which is 260 grand, up for about 150 in a year or two's time. So if you can stomach 100 grand depreciation, then fair play to you. And then there's little details that aren't very Bentley, like this front camera, the indicator stalks not quite being as nice as the ones in the Continental GT, things like that. Otherwise, what an epic car. Genuinely, if I won the lottery or if my CarWow shares come in good for me, this would be my family car. A couple of years old, maybe with a private number plate on it so you can't tell it's an old one. But yeah, it's an absolutely epic king of the SUVs. And I know you're still probably going to hate it, but go and drive one, blag a ride in one, and you'll feel the quality, you'll feel where the money went when it was made. Thank you for watching. If you've liked this video, please hit like, go down to the comments, and leave me the British word for it is quite orange, like your coat. And I'll see you next time, and subscribe, and I think I've said that. Anyway, well done, we didn't get blown away.